The 2025 NBA draft went down 2 months ago, and even with a little time to reflect, it's still one of the wildest drafts we've seen in recent memory. Between blockbuster trades, shocking decisions, and a few picks that left fans divided, this draft gave us drama from start to finish. And while some choices felt inevitable, others might be debated for years. Today, we're revisiting the top 10 picks, because now that the dust has settled, the story feels even clearer. The Dallas Mavericks made the most predictable move of the night by selecting Cooper Flagg with the number 1 overall pick. Everyone saw it coming, but that doesn't make it less important. Flagg had been the projected top prospect all year, and after a dominant season at Duke, he backed up every ounce of hype. What makes him special isn't just skill, it's his competitiveness, versatility on defense, and polished scoring ability. For Dallas, this was about more than talent. It was about securing hope for the future. After a turbulent season with whispers about Luka Doncic's long-term future, Flagg became their foundation piece. It was the obvious pick, but from here, the draft only got messier. And don't forget, social media absolutely exploded when the pick was announced. Fans weren't surprised, but the highlight reels of Flagg's high school and Duke dominance started trending again instantly, making this the rare, predictable pick that still felt like a cultural moment. The Spurs grabbed Dylan Harper at number 2, another move most expected, but one that came with a twist. Harper is a dynamic guard who thrives as a slasher and playmaker, but San Antonio now has a logjam in the backcourt. They already have De'Aaron Fox, who they traded for last season, plus Rookie of the Year Stephon Castle. Add Harper, and you've got 3 high-usage guards who all want the ball. Talent-wise, this pick made sense, but fit-wise, the Spurs have some serious puzzle-solving to do. And fans were quick to point it out. Half of Spurs Twitter was ecstatic about adding Harper's star power, while the other half was already joking about who gets stuck playing small forward. That's the kind of debate that can follow this franchise for years. When the Sixers took VJ Edgecombe at number 3, it wasn't shocking, but it was telling. Philly needed energy, defense, and versatility, exactly what Edgecombe brings. With the Sixers still stuck between chasing one last playoff push or planning for life after Joel Embiid, Edgecombe gives them flexibility. He's not an immediate superstar, but his athleticism and willingness to do the little things could make him invaluable down the line. And what stood out here was the silence. Sixers fans didn't boo. That's rare. Instead, the reaction was cautious optimism, with many pointing out that Edgecombe feels like the kind of guy who plays harder than anyone else in the gym. Charlotte, though, had a different idea with their selection. At number 4, the Hornets went with Khaman Maluach, and while it didn't grab headlines like other picks, it may be one of the most quietly brilliant moves of the night. Maluach is smart, efficient, and versatile, exactly the type of player Charlotte needs to balance out LaMelo Ball's flash and creativity. For a team struggling with identity and discipline, Maluach is a steadying force. It wasn't a highlight reel pick, but it could be one of the most impactful in the long run. But Utah didn't play it safe at all. 2 months later, Ace Bailey at number 5 is still one of the most controversial moves of the draft. Bailey had red flags before the draft, skipping workouts, trying to steer his way to certain teams, and flashing questionable decision-making. On the floor, he's a tough shot maker with elite scoring instincts, but he also settles for bad looks and doesn't always play winning basketball. To make matters worse, Bailey reportedly wasn't excited about landing in Utah. The Jazz bet big on his upside, but this pick could go sideways fast. Washington, meanwhile, played it a little safer. The Wizards went with Tre Johnson, a scoring machine out of Texas. Johnson led the SEC in scoring as a freshman, while hitting nearly 40% of his threes, many of them self-created. Washington needed a go-to scorer, and Johnson fills that hole immediately. But there are flaws. He's undersized, struggles at the rim, and hasn't shown much defensively. Still, for a rebuilding team, this was a worthwhile gamble on upside. The Pelicans, however, took a different kind of risk. New Orleans selected Jeremiah Fears, and 2 months later, this still feels like a pure upside swing. Fears is electric with the ball, crafty, creative, and able to get anywhere he wants on the court. But he's also turnover-prone, inconsistent from deep and weak on defense. Surrounded by Zion and Ingram, he won't need to do too much right away, which buys him time to grow. If he matures, this could be a sneaky steal. If not, it could be a miss people look back on. But if this was a risk, what Brooklyn did at 8 was even bolder. At number 8, the Nets went all in on upside with Igor Demon, a 6'9" forward from BYU with guard-like vision. On paper, his size and passing instincts are rare. The issue? He shot just 27% from 3, and defenses quickly learned they could ignore him beyond the arc. Without a jumper, his game gets predictable fast. The Nets are betting they can fix his shot, but right now, this pick feels more like a reach than a steal. Toronto, on the other hand, looked for reliability. Toronto addressed a need by drafting Colin Murray-Boyles, an interior scorer with polished post moves and relentless rebounding. At 6 feet 7 inches, he's undersized for a big, and without a jumper, his long-term ceiling is limited. But his floor is high. He'll contribute from day one, bringing toughness and efficiency. For a team trying to push back into playoff contention, this was a steady choice. And then came the Suns, who made a curious move at number 10. The Suns closed the top 10 by selecting Khaman Maluach, a raw but physically gifted 7-footer. His tools are incredible, his backstory inspiring, but here's the catch. Right before this pick, Phoenix traded for Mark Williams to be their starting center. That means Maluach is more of a long-term project than an immediate piece. He could develop into something special, but in the short term, this felt more like a stash than a solution. Looking back 2 months later, the top 10 of the 2025 NBA draft gave us a little bit of everything. Predictable picks, risky reaches, and a few moves that might age like fine wine, or like spoiled milk. Some players will rise and redefine their franchises. Others may go down as cautionary tales. But that's what makes drafts unforgettable, because years from now, we'll look back and realize which of these picks truly changed the league. The question is, who's it going to be?